It's the Year of Shame Challenge.
Hello and welcome to episode... I should know this. 6 of season 12 of the Year of Shame. I am your host, Kevin, and with me today I have Rich 1.
Hello.
Rich 2.
Hello.
And Toby.
All right, Doc.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we all doing? Any major life updates? We've got to maybe address the fact that, we've been slow on the releases and then delayed in the recording of this one due to various Rich's travels.
By the time people get this episode, they'll have heard the previous episode with my little grovelling apology at the beginning before the episode starts.
Sure.
So they will already know why we
realise it means nothing. Realise
it's hollow promises and just bullshit upon bullshit. Because I essentially take legalised ecstasy now, so it's fine.
Ooh, fantastic.
Fair enough. So, Rich, what have you actually been up to? Where have you been? What have you been doing? Because you caused a delay.
So if I've caused a delay, just one of the many reasons for doing it. I had I jumped, drove down to Portsmouth, took my bike, took my wife. She took her bike as well. We jumped on a
you can't
ferry.
wipe that.
She's the dog. That was a nickname on the bike, but I won't go into that and why. But we jumped on the ferry at Portsmouth. 36 hours on that ferry. Got off at Bilbao, in the industrial region of northwestern Spain, and then we cycled from there into France to San Sebastian, and then made our way up through France and got on a ferry at St. Malo. Pretty much spent most of the Euros there, in various degrees of joy and sadness. Laughed at all the French as they went out, and then got laughed at by the French as we got our asses kicked. So
I mean, they do know we got to the final and they didn't, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like,
but
enculé du putain.
Exactly. C'est la vie. So epic journey, 1,000 kilometers, 100k a day. Took a couple of days off around Ile de Ré, Saint-Emilion, sampled the wonderful French wines, but Christ almighty, I don't want to see another piece of braised beef or weirdly stewed cock as it is in Vans.
Or a merguez again.
Yeah, exactly.
Cocks in Vans, I think, is a different holiday.
Well, Cocks in Vans is more of a Toby holiday than mine, but Van was my holiday.
For the reach around.
Exactly. So
getting on a different kind of bike.
Yeah. So we took all our kit with us, so we were carrying that, and people say it's not a holiday, but it was an adventure. You got to do these things at my age,
Yeah, you were quoting Bourdain and all sorts, weren't you?
I was what?
Throwing out your Anthony Bourdain quotes and all sorts.
And yeah, absolutely. Drinking cognac in cognac, Saint-Emilion in Saint-Emilion, drinking champagne in...
Not champagne,
but no, in...
So it's just sparkling wine.
I've completely forgot it. Yeah, no, outside, does anyone know what champagne is called outside of Champagne if it's made in France?
Sparkling wine, surely.
Sparkling wine.
No, Cremant. So if you want to be a dick yes, exactly. If you want to be a dick at dinner parties, if you have dinner parties and someone cracks open a sparkling wine that is from France but not from the Champagne region, you'll know it's called a Cremant.
I mean, I won't remember that, but so was the cycling just?
It's not only late but educational.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it sounds to me like the cycling element of it was just so that you could drink without having to worry about driving.
Yes, and I cycled Ride of the Drunk a couple of times. Yes,
yeah.
So it'd be 3 hours in the morning, 3 or 4 hours in the morning, 2 hour lunch because we're in France and that's the law, and then about an hour or hour and a half, slightly tipsy to the next days. We stayed in some weird places. Gascony is like the Mississippi of France. It is flat. It goes on forever and ever. You're cycling through. There was one road we went for 16 miles through pine forestry without seeing another human being or anything or a sign, and it was just never-ending roads. We got to the place where we booked an Airbnb, and we were literally staying in someone's house. I know that's what Airbnb is, but we stayed in their bed. Like
a cabin in the woods.
Basically a cabin in the woods, nothing for miles around. We stayed in their bed
like
without them in it. But they when you got up for a piss in the middle of the night, they were actually sleeping on their sofa, which was weird, and they didn't speak a word of English. It was, but luckily it was weird. One night, and we were like,
did they have banjos?
No. Donkeys and peacocks, and but my wife was more obsessed. She was like, look at the woman's feet. Like her nails, and she hasn't worn shoes in like 20 years.
Amazing.
So we were like, we'll go, au revoir. But yeah, so really, really cool, good memories, and that's the reason for the delay. Apologies, guys.
All right, as long as you've got some good stories.
Mm-hmm.
Toby, you been up to much?
What have I been up to? I didn't get cast in Willy Wonka, lads.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I didn't get cast.
What
were you going
for it?
Yeah, no, we spoke about it on a podcast.
You didn't say it was Willy Wonka.
Oh no, I said I would tell you if I got it.
Yes, which you didn't. So should you not be telling us?
Told us anyway.
I'm telling you anyway. I've been cast as an Oompa Loompa.
Were you?
You have been cast as an Oompa Loompa, is that?
I am an Oompa Loompa, yeah.
Okay, what were you going for? What role were you going
Willy
for?
Wonka.
Oh, you were going for the big role. Not like Grandpa in the bed or something.
No, I don't go for the small ones.
Is that like being cast as the donkey in the nativity play? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
I've essentially been given the bit at the back, yeah. Which has never happened to me before, and I struggled with it for a few days. I was like, hold on, I'm usually the bloke at the front, and now I'm going to be the bloke at the back. And it was a bit of a mind fuck. And then I was like, no, you either have to accept that you're doing these things for the love of it, or you have to be a diva and walk away. Like, choose one. So
or push the existing Willy Wonka down the stairs.
Well, he's a really nice chap. He's one of these people that's just unfailingly nice. Who, to the point like, oh come on, mate, just do something bad. Be a bad person at something. It'll make everyone's life better.
Yep.
So yeah, I decided I was gonna put on my big boy pants and do it for the love of it and see how that goes.
Good man. I'm glad you decided to do that and not storm out and be that. However, I'm still struggling with my image of what an Oompa Loompa should look like, and you do not come to mind as.
Yeah, I'm a bit tall. I'm a bit tall.
Yeah. Are you just going to be really far away?
In the car park. Hello.
Yeah.
No. I think the beauty of
the
theatre is that you ask audiences to suspend belief.
You're not going to have to walk around on your knees.
Like
then.
the unwritten contract of going to see a theatre show is that you don't sit there and go, I'm in the same room as these people.
Yeah.
So we're asking, as soon as you step into a theatre, you're being asked to suspend belief. So casting starts to take part of that form. So you're saying to people, if I can perform it well enough, you can believe me. Yes? And the audience says yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's my job to be the best damn Oompa Loompa a 6 foot fat bald man can be.
Are they at least going to paint you orange?
I don't know. Is the honest answer?
what version of Willy? What version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
So it's they made a musical of it about 10 years ago. Debuted in the West End, then they moved it over to America and Americanized it, and we've got the American version, which is a bit bullshit.
If they paint you orange, you're going to look like the guy from the Tango ads.
Yeah. But The American version doesn't have some of the English version's got some of the best songs, and the American version doesn't have them because Americans are like, we don't get it, which is a shame. But I've been dancing my little tush off in rehearsals, dropping some weight. Hopefully, by the time we get to show week, I will at least be a lean, fat, bald man. Sorry, a lean bald man rather than a fat bald man, and that will help. But we'll see.
Right. Any opportunities for ballet performances?
Well, my ballet has already been noted in the dance rehearsals. I've noted that I know my way around a routine.
Right. Okay.
Considering I've never been a dancer, I've never because I've always been the lead in things. I've never had to learn all the dances and all that bollocks because you get to just do your own thing at the front. And now I'm having to learn harmonies and dance numbers and all of that bollocks. And it's harder than being the lead. I just let me go up the front and let someone else do this. I'm good at the front bit. I'm not good at this bit.
If you're looking for a leading role, I think you'd fit like almost typecast into this. Jack Black is looking for a new partner. You can walk straight into that.
That's not a role. That's being in a band.
Yeah, you're good at being in a band.
I'm not good at being in a band. I'm terrible at being in a band. I had to go solo because I couldn't agree with people in bands.
Sorry, you just have to do what Jack Black tells you.
I mean, that's fine. Seems like a nice enough chap.
Things.
Not say things about Trump getting assassinated, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, which we will not talk about here.
Let's not get this cancelled.
Why not?
Because we don't want to get this cancelled.
Might get some promotion.
Also,
that would be
I welcome the opportunity to go one-on-one with Trump to get cancelled. I would love a piece of that action. Trump on this podcast? Yes, fucking please.
Well, perhaps he could join you in the Oompa Loompa. Like, I mean, two orange men.
He's the right colour.
Absolutely.
The angry Cheeto.
Oh.
And now he's got less ear, so his hair gets to flop around even more.
Absolutely.
I think that was my favourite thing about him standing up with his fist raised in defiance was just how ridiculous his hair looked. Like the bullet had grazed past his ear and gone with his hair at the same time, blown it to the sides.
That was another bullet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the second bullet. It was meant to go to his forehead, just parted his hair.
Beaker. Yeah. That's what he should have stood up and said.
I think that's what he did say.
Yeah. Anyway, Kev as host, you've lost control of this podcast.
Yeah, I have. I should bring it back here.
I've gone rogue straight away.
Okay. We'll move on now. We'll move on to the other Rich. Have you had any exciting escapades this month and a half?
Nothing as exciting as either of those two. I've been keeping myself to myself. Work's been a bit of a pain in the ass, and aside from that, I have been improving my archery skills no end.
Yeah, you have. We saw the pictures.
You're our own very Legolas.
Oh, I'm something, but not that.
Gimli lass.
Gimli lass.
Yeah.
I saw your bullseyes, pal. Very impressive.
Oh, that's the first step. Now I've got to shift it another 10 yards and do the same thing again.
It's a start.
Are you going somewhere to do this, or is this just like in the back garden? Or
no, I don't have all of Birmingham or anything to do it like Rich one. Now this is a local club that we've got, so we've got a shooting field that we shoot on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we all go on that. We have club competitions as well, but there are some people who are even better than that. So at the moment, it's kind of a practice field for me when we're out and about with that sort of thing. So yeah, and there's something called the 252 scoring, which is essentially like when you do your swimming badges, you get to move up when you've got to a certain standard. So at the moment, I'm shooting 20 and 30 yards. Okay. And then the 252 is the score that you need to achieve from 3 dozen arrows, which is basically if you look at those targets.
What 252? 252? What?
152. Yeah. That's
152.
essentially it in the reds. The red, you've got to keep everything, have an average of 7 an arrow, which is essentially the red and gold from any of those big targets that you're seeing, because it's imperial scoring 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, going from gold outwards to the white.
Is it? Why? Weird. Why?
There are metric scoring, because each one of those, if you look at the target, is split into 2 in case you want to shoot the metric versions. So the gold is split in 2, so you can have it as 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. It just depends on what particular type of shoot you're doing. There are all sorts. There must be about 12 different competition type shooting that you can do. They've all got different names and involve shooting at different sized target faces with different numbers of arrows.
And what sort of bow are you using? Because there's quite a lot of different.
This is Olympic recurve. So the ones you see them shooting at the Olympics with all, I don't have all that guff on them. But yeah, so it's the same sort of thing that they will use at the Olympics. It's a recurve bow that's in 3 pieces. So you've got the centerpiece, and then you will have a top and bottom limb, which attach separately, and then you tension it by stringing it.
And are you targeting 2028 Olympics? Are we going to see you there?
Not as a competitor, although I might target someone in the 2028 Olympics if my shooting's bad enough.
Okay.
Maybe we don't put out threats.
I'll be in America by then.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe the November debates will see you out there on a roof.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we've all had a good time at least.
You haven't told us about your month, mate.
What about you?
It's been largely the same. Sort of. I did end up in Brussels for a couple of days for work.
Intentionally.
And then, yes, intentionally.
It
was actually on my birthday as well, which was not intended, but I ended up having to travel out on my birthday. So I had a couple of days in Brussels for work, and then I've had to sort of do some trips up to Oxford for work as well. But other than that, fairly normal month.
Considerably better beer than the other one.
You say that. The office in Oxford is right next to the Bear Inn, which is like this just fantastic pub.
Yeah, they haven't got any Trappist monks in Oxford though, so
yeah,
sure.
You know that for a fact.
Yep.
You checked.
Okay.
Yep. They'd be coining it with beer, and they're not. They're coining it with students instead. Isn't that where yours goes, Rich? No,
Where?
Bristol. Oxford.
My what?
Your
My
eldest.
children?
Yeah.
No, she's in Cardiff.
Oh.
Cardiff. Yes.
Good.
And on that note,
yes. Good.
On that note,
let us move on.
Let us fuck.
Rich 2
is
here with the pile progress.
Yeah, and I'm going to immediately ask Toby to update us.
Okay, cool. I mentioned this in our group chat, but obviously the unwashed masses will not know this. So I'll lay the smackdown. I tried Bloodborne. I downloaded it, booted it up, chose my chat, did my character, all that business. Did the first bit where you're in the place and the thing gets you and you end up in the church and then you come back again. And I decided I didn't want to play this anymore. So what I did was I deleted that, binned it off, and started Ghost of Tsushima.
With Bloodborne, what was it that made you stop playing it though?
It was too hard, Richard. It was too fucking hard.
It wasn't just the story; it was the actual difficulty.
It was the difficulty. The story would be lovely, I'm sure. I'm sure it's a jaunty walk in the park where you meet lots of colourful characters and learn about their backgrounds while gaining XP. However, too fucking hard. Me?
Right, glad we established that, Mr. Angry.
and I will accept that it's too hard. We can't all be the best at everything. That's why I'm playing a fucking Oompa Loompa. So, moved on to Ghost of Tsushima, which is absolutely lovely and wonderful. Scratches my samurai itch, which is lovely. Nice bit of story in there. I'm still very early on in it. I'm still in chapter 1. I'm just milking the map for everything it's worth, finding all the little bits, all the temples and all that sort of thing. All the rock pools to chill yourself out in. Get some samurai butt action going on. Yeah, no, it's lovely. I'm really enjoying it. Very picturesque. Combat is nice. It's not overly complicated, but allows for lots of different ways to do things.
Is
Which
this
I'm
a third person?
It is a third person. Third person samurai. The Mongols have invaded a Japanese island, and you are the last living samurai, or so you think, apart from your uncle, who's their captive. And it's your job to sort of liberate the island. So you go about trying to raise a militia, basically. And that's as far as I've got, really.
Yeah.
I had it in my head that it was a Souls-like. Is that not the case?
Absolutely not. It's much more comfy than a Souls-like game. It's a jaunt. You can
switch
roll
Bloodborne off if it was a Souls-like game. He'd have.
Well, that's why I was a little bit like, I'm not sure I'd pick that up, but yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, no, it's no. You're thinking of what's the other one?
Yeah, the thingy one.
The ninja one.
Sariko, is it?
Maybe, but yeah, there was another game that came out around the same time that was ridiculously hard and certainly was Japan-based. But I believe ninja, not samurai.
Yeah, Sekiro is From Software game.
Yeah,
similar sort of ninja Japanese theme.
Excuse me. But yeah, no, I'm really loving it. The combat is just challenging sometimes. Like it's enough to keep you playing, but also to drive the story along. And yeah, it's pretty. Some gorgeous scenery. The sun is always setting. Obviously, it's Japan, land of the rising and setting sun.
You really walked yourself into a cut in and out of the cul-de-sac there, didn't you?
Sure did.
Always rising.
Realised what was happening. Quickly fell out of that.
Quickly, yeah, because all Japanese is known as the rising setting sun. We've always called Japan that.
It's basically a place that has sunshine. It is
either rising or it is setting.
But they have sun, and that's why it's on their flag, because they have one. And they love it. And I love it too. I love the little things like in large scale RPGs, there's usually something to guide you around. In GTA, you've got your map and stat nav and things like that, or your cabs. In Fable, you had the little twinkling path that led you along. But in Ghost of Tsushima, to keep it sort of in that samurai, whimsical, slightly mystical way, you tell the game where you want to go, and the wind guides you. Like it blows in the direction that you need to travel, and it will blow leaves or grass along to show you the way. Mm-hmm. So it keeps it all quite nice and contained. Yeah.
Is that still quite visible, or
very visible? Yeah, it will come from behind you, and will blow blossoms, grass, trees. There's also little bits like having to compose haikus at different places on different subjects. Like you look around the map and it will give you prompts, and you choose the things that you want to make the haiku, and then you earn rewards for writing the haikus and stuff. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such a beautiful game. I think it just balances the right amount of collectible bullshit where it's interesting, but you just don't feel overrun by it. I've got to collect 15,000 more haikus to do something.
I didn't say that I'd finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Again, I said that on our group chat. We didn't say it on an episode. I finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, that's why I started Bloodborne and then Ghost of Tsushima. Because, Valhalla was finished. Yes, there's lots of glowing things still on the map at me, so I've class 6'd it, so I've evergreened it so I can go back to it another time. But I wanted to push on and get another game under the belt, and another big one, before I do a couple of little palette cleanses. I think after Ghost of Tsushima, I'm actually going to go through the Walking Dead collection. Telltale wise, and just smash through those. And that'll be a nice little palate cleanse of sorts. Nice. That'll be another is there 4 of those now? So it'll keep me going for a bit.
I'll keep you there. Kev, where are you up to?
I've had a rather unsuccessful time, if I'm honest. So having completed 2 games, I think I spoke about in the last one, I haven't really made much progress since then. I was playing XCOM Chimera Squad, and I got 2/3 of the way through it and then hit like this really hard battle, and I haven't gone back to it because it pissed me off. But I do need to try and maybe pick that up again and just like get it across the line. So since then I've largely been playing multiplayer stuff. So a fair chunk of Valheim and PUBG, and some Baldur's Gate 3 with my eldest, which has been good. But I haven't made any significant progress. I have, however, used my gift, or had my gift used, or I don't know exactly how you word that. I was gifted.
You've had your gift applied.
Yes.
Which is exactly what someone should do when they're making absolutely no progress in games, is just apply another
new one.
So it was my birthday, and my eldest picked a game off my wish list and bought it for me. So I was not going to turn that down. It is a game called Foundation, and it is a fairly chill, cutesy, medieval-esque city builder type game. It's very relaxed. It doesn't have the same sort of like intensity and easy fail that a lot of the genre went through at one point. It is still in early access.
We're talking more Sim City than Frostpunk.
Yes, yeah. It is still in early access, but I have now put 5.5 hours into it. And it's been pretty enjoyable. Just nice for sitting and chatting with friends while a game. Something that I don't have to pay a huge amount of attention to, but keeps me occupied. So yeah, it's been
keeps
good.
You awake from any true completions of actual games on your pile.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to, get too deeply into actually finishing stuff. It is another game that will never truly. I would never truly be able to finish as such, because it's not a finishable game. But no, I'm enjoying gaming. That's the important part.
Nice. Rich, where are you up to?
So my big news is that I completed Returnal after years of trying, however long it's been out. That's very good. And I'm very proud of myself for that, because that was a game that I got absolutely tied up in knots, stuck in Biome 3, as I've said before.
You were having nightmares on there.
Yeah, exactly. And then weirdly, when once I got through that, there's a moment, I think, in that game where you get a certain amount of it's a new weapon and another new skill, and everything seems easier. So whether or not that game is correctly balanced or not, I'm not sure. There's that part in, I think a lot of people get stuck in this Biome 3 because you're not quite got the weapons, not quite got your head around how the game works. But once you crack through that, and that was just in the case of just head down and getting on with it. Weirdly, I think I described it as a pain dungeon. I'd love
in the good way or the bad way.
Well, it turned me into a bit of a pain junkie, right? So you just keep going back, keep throwing yourself. It's the typical roguelike kind of mentality. You just got to keep throwing yourself against the castle wall, right, and going at it, and it hurts. But when you get through, the pleasure is when you get through that barrier, the pleasure is there. But yeah, so it held me hostage for a long time, and like hostages, they say hostages do. I kind of want to go back to my kidnapper
Stockholm syndrome from Returnal.
Yes, Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, no, I love that. I do love that game, and I'm glad I finished it. I don't know if I've got the gumption. I certainly won't go back to it this year, but there is more content to do. So yeah, I'll evergreen that, because there is there is more to it. I don't know if there's any DLC coming. The storyline, I was told, was fantastic. It's a very depressing and weird storyline, and it sort of pays off in the end. So that was interesting to see. But I must admit, I thought it was a bit. It sort of just finished. That was the only thing that, after all of the big kind of Biome 3 problems I had, the final boss was really simple. And then it just sort of ended. And I was like, I was expecting like some epic battle of the soul that, given what the story's about, and I won't give anything away, I was expecting this big struggle that I'd have to put my head down, but it sort of just nailed it and went through. But anyway, it's off the list.
Maybe you got good at it by then. Maybe you learnt it and got good.
Yeah, I did. I think so. Which is which is not like me at all. So now I'm back from my holiday. It's time to clear some stuff off the hard drive and get Mass Effect back in there. And I think next month is I'm going to get Mass Effect 2 now. And I'm really looking forward to getting back into that world. I've had that pause and that problem with my save and everything like that, but I think that's going to be the focus. And then finally, for Father's Day, I was gifted as well, and I bought with my tokens Balatro. Do you remember us talking about?
Is this
we spoke about it at the end of the last episode?
Roguelike thing.
Yeah, someone posted on the thing. It was a question about wasn't it? And it wasn't.
Yeah.
Is it? Have you thought about using your Joker, and why is it not Balatro?
And why not?
Like
yeah.
That. Yeah.
Poker game.
It's a poker game. I love poker. I love card games. I love turn-based games. I like deck building, all of that, and it ticks all of those boxes. I didn't want another big game. A bit like Kev, I didn't want a big game. What I was missing from my game pile was something to play on my laptop, because I got a Mac because I use it for work, and you don't get a lot of choices. So I needed something where, so if I'm on the train or I'm taking my laptop on holiday, that I've got something to play, and I was really missing that. I've got some card games like Eternal, and I've done those to death, and so this just scratch that itch. I've done 40 hours of Balatro, and
I might have to look at this now.
Yeah, and it's just that you just boot it up and you build a deck. The Jokers enhance the deck, so you're trying to try and score the highest amount. So say you get a full house, you get 10 points for a king, 9 points for a 9, and then if you've got a Joker that might enhance kings, then it will double the score of the kings, and then it just goes on from there. And you've always got to beat a certain score, so you've got to go through 8 what they call blinds, so 8 hands, rounds.
Proper poker then, if it's sticking blinds and stuff in.
Yeah, well,
they use all the same kind of ideas.
They use all the same.
Are your hands like poker hands? You got in full houses and flushes and.
Yeah, so you go. Each round goes through 3 phases. You get a small blind, a big blind, and then the boss blind. So the small one is, say, it's 350 points you need, and then if you beat that, you get the chance to enhance your deck, and then you can do a big blind. It's harder. It's 700 points, and then if you beat that, you get money and you get to enhance the deck again, and then you take the boss blind on, and the boss blind has a special power. It might be that all diamonds, no diamond score. Yeah, so the boss blind will have some negative effect on it, or it's got like a super blind, so it's like instead of 750 it's 7,500 or something. So you could always skip blinds to make it faster. But if you do, you don't get the chance to buy new cards, but you do get the chance to skip it. And so you're always judging about whether or not your deck's big enough to take the boss blind. So at the start of the round, you always know what the boss is. And so you just take that and you just go through 8. And then if you get through 8 rounds, then you open up a new deck, and that's it. Just goes on and on and on forever. What's the matter, Toby?
I think me and Toby are both laughing at you worrying about whether or not your deck's big enough.
Is that it? Just
Come
looks
on,
like
you've
it's
got a
not
big deck.
even close. Like
Come
deck.
on, we all know you're rocking a big deck.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Big deck energy.
Yeah, well, speaking of decks, as it were, I've got actually finished something as well. Cyberpunk is done.
Finished Cyberpunk. Nice.
That's very good for you.
All done.
Can I ask you what ending you got, Rich?
Which one I got?
Without spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Do we want to do a spoiler, or do you want to speak to me offline?
I'll speak to you. I'll speak to you after it, and
all right.
We can have a deep dive into what choices were made and why.
I've done 3 endings now.
Well, why don't we just give a spoiler alert? And if you want,
because I want to play the game and
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to play the game, right? Okay, fair enough. Let's not do that.
all right.
Kev, if you want to piss off Kev for 5
Fuck
minutes,
off, Kev.
Bring your up, fella. Get out.
Yeah, no, we'll speak about it afterwards. Okay,
yeah, that was.
But well done. Are you happy
nice.
with the ending you got?
Difficult to know without having got the others, to be honest.
But do you feel like it? Like when I finished it the first time, I didn't feel like that was where my V would have ended up.
Oh, in that respect, I think probably yes. Yeah,
You're happy with it?
I think so.
Yeah.
In terms of how I played the character throughout the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think that's where he would have gone.
And I'm assuming, knowing you, that you went pretty much full on Edge Runner. Is that right?
Oh yeah. So I got the tech and intelligence abilities were the 2 top highest ones.
But as I got towards suicide on the regular.
Up to a point, but then as I got further on, because obviously you max those out and you've still got other points that you can spend. So I was going into assault rifles and that kind of thing, and I spent sort of the last quarter of the game combining the 2. So I'd be disabling big guys with the tech, and then just taking the goons out. You've got the abilities with the assault rifles and things.
I like to mix that with gorilla fists with fire as well. That's a fun one.
Yeah. So mine was going through and doing that towards the end. But yeah, I've still got quite a bit left to do because it's. I don't think it's saying spoilers, but you can continue after you've finished the main story and then go back.
Not
and
with
mop
some
up
endings
anything.
you can't.
There
are some endings you can't.
I've got that. So as long as you've got one of those, I have a save now on there which will allow me to go back and do the clear up.
I'm aware of, there are 3 that you can't.
Well, then in that case, it would be important when you get to that point of no return to make sure, as in you get the warning in all the other games, you can pause it directly before you take another step. It sticks it right front and center. You're about to hit that point. So anybody who hasn't played it, make sure you save it there in case you get one of those endings, which I haven't had, and Toby's told me you can get.
You definitely can. I got it first time. That's why I know.
Oh well, that's a bit of a shitter, isn't it? Do you have to play the whole thing through again?
Yep. As I said when you started it, I've done one of each background so far. So I've had a different ending each time.
Oh right, yeah, that makes sense. I think I've got 4 things either to go at now. I think maybe I'm going to jump on and do Callisto Protocol next. Stick myself in a Dead Space horror style game and go through with that. Keep the momentum going with an RPG style thing. Because I've got some more RTS type games, but I'm not in the mood for that. So that's where I'm going to go next. That is my progress done for.
Very cool, man. I'm glad you finished it, especially after waiting so long to play it. What does it?
Oh, I love the game.
I was going to say, are you still of the mindset that it was well worth the wait? Now it's all sorted out.
Yeah, and next time there's a sale on, I mean, if it in the PSN store, if it comes before I've had a Joker or a gift this year, I may tap somebody up for the Phantom Liberty.
Nice.
Certainly, if I don't get it this year, then next year I'm going to jump onto the Phantom Liberty as soon as I can.
I was going to say that was going to be my question as to whether or not the DLC is now worth a joker or whether not, because you'd have to play the whole game.
I bought the DLC
I think
on
it
the
is.
31st of December.
Yeah, I would go with that. So there's a whole section of the map you can't go in until you've got that.
Right.
It's worth telling you, just because you played it since they released that section of the map just didn't used to be there.
Oh, right. So that was just like a piece of the Badlands that didn't exist to go in. Right, okay.
Awesome. Okay, great. That is the progress that we have or haven't been making.
Three of us have finished a game this month then, Kev.
Yeah,
just saying.
Thanks. It has also been a month and a half, which is a little even more embarrassing. So
I wasn't going to go there, but yeah.
I will do 2 by next podcast, assuming we're not doing one in like 2 weeks. Okay, great. So let's move swiftly on from that before we shame me any further. On to this month's releases, which I think Rich number 1 has for us.
Yeah, well, thanks for surprising me with that after being back from France for a couple of days and then just say this. So I've had to.
All I can say is check your WhatsApp more often.
Yeah, fucked. Anyway, there you go. So listen, this is going to be a little bit chaotic. So anyway, I think we are deep into indie release territory. This must be the month or the couple of months where indie titles get their groove on and try and stay out of the AAA releases and get out there. So that's the vibe of this month. Just to run through, what I'll do is I'll just run through top line what's being released without going into them. You've got, and then I'll go into a couple I picked out. So we've got Final Fantasy 14 Online Dawn Trail that's come out. The First Descent, Hot Blood, Zenless 00, not heard of those two either. Legend of Heroes, Alaskan Road Truckers. I mean, come on, guys.
Sounds like a winner.
Darkest Dungeon 2, College Football 25. I haven't played the other 24. Evil, Flock, Asphalt Legend Unite, Bow Path of Teal Lotus, Film Lock, Siege of Dawn, Hexphobia, F1 Manager 24, Star Named EOS, Arranger, Earth Defense Force 6, Deadlink, and Angerfoot. I mean, that is quite a list of
Darkest Dungeon, a console-specific launch, because I'm sure I've already got it.
Darkest Dungeon 2.
Yeah, was it console specific? Did it say console, or is it?
It is released on all. Yeah, it is released on all.
I think it was already out on PC.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about Angerfoot?
Angerfoot. It's just of that entire random list. I will tell you more about Angerfoot. So fuck you, because I actually looked at that one. So Angerfoot looks a little bit like, well, it's a first person FPS. And you're fighting against. It's a bit like, it's a Counter-Strike type game. It looks like hell on earth for me. My brain, unless these Silogit gummies tend to kick in, I will not have the cognitive ability to play this game. And it seems to be based on. If it causes
you pain, then the gummies will smash that pain.
Exactly, the destroyer of weakness. So it looks. I'm trying to think of. They're obviously not working because my brain isn't working. But okay. So you fight against other people. I don't know the amount of teams you have, but you do get shoes, and each shoe you seem to kill people by shooting them and then kicking them in the head, basically. And the different shoes you can get give you different abilities: jumping, killing people better. That's it. So it's like it's every other game that we've ever played like that.
With kicking,
except you get shoes. and you kick people.
Sounds like a load of cobblers to me.
I genuinely, I can't tell you how happy I am that game exists because of how fucking mental it sounds.
It's a Devolver game. I'm unsurprised. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, they could have come up with a catchier name than Angerfoot.
Yeah, but of all that list, it's the one you picked out, right?
Because it sounded stupid.
Yeah, it looks stupid, but then again, it's just a game mechanic, isn't it? So it's just like every other nightmarish game of competitive shooting, which guns for the under 20s, basically. Final Fantasy. So the ones I picked out that seem to be quite notable with their Metacritic scores and user scores. Obviously, Final Fantasy 14. Have you guys ever jumped into that MMORPG?
No, it looks like it would just be full of wankers.
I have dabbled.
Yeah, there you go.
And just to reinforce, no. I'd say that the exception to the rule. You are the exception to the rule.
Let me ask you, Kev, if you've dabbled, was it full of wankers?
I didn't talk to anyone in it because
they're all wankers.
Yeah. Saying that, I know some very nice people who play it religiously. So
but you know some wankers that play it too.
Well, quite possibly. They may be listening, so I'm not. You know.
Wow, you could have kept that in the chamber.
No, genuinely good and nice people. I really struggled with the opening element of it. It is like a lot of Japanese RPGs in that it dumps huge amounts of stuff on you in a very short space of time. And so when I have dabbled, I have very lightly dabbled. I maybe got to level 3 or 4 or something before I was just like, this is fucking too complex, and stopped. I do want to go back, and I keep meaning to get those friends that I mentioned to help me through the early bits, because there's so much that it throws at you. But the general consensus from those people seems to be that this expansion is a good one. So I can only assume that it is if you like it, then you'll like the expansion.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us will buy it soon, not playing it. But yeah, I like you. I just don't get the world. I don't get connected with it. I get confused. I feel weird whenever I play it. Any Final Fantasy game, I do. It just makes me feel weird. I just not right.
You shouldn't be looking at this.
It just shouldn't be. Just things, just like a full fevered nightmare.
Can I derail your segment a bit as it's about releases?
And
I know this is unlike me.
Yourself in.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. No, I've been away. It's on my list.
That was not the releases I thought we were going to talk about.
Hours.
What?
You were on a ferry for 36 hours and didn't watch it.
Yeah, I'm not paying €25 for Brittany Ferry's bullshit fucking Wi-Fi, mate. That's why I play Balatro.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm keen to know your thoughts. Back to your segment.
Well, can we do? Yeah, we do it next month when I've watched it. So I don't want any spoilers. I don't want a good or bad. I just want to watch it.
I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word.
Okay, fine.
No bananas in this tailpipe.
No. Fantastic. Okay, Metacritic, it's at 78 with the user score of 6.4, so it does seem to be pretty well received, but it's just an expansion, right? So then we got I've never heard of Frostpunk, never heard of it. Look at Frostpunk 2. I don't know why. I don't know. Never heard of it. But Frostpunk
is that out now? Is that?
It is released on the 26th.
It's was on every free service. It was on Game Pass. It was on PS Plus. It's been everywhere.
It's a city. Well, it's a city builder. I think it's
difficult.
It's not
That's what
Frostpunk
is.
Yeah.
Game that I've ever my eyes would have looked. Yeah, Calypso and that kind of thing. I've always liked
I recently watched some YouTubers playing the early access stuff and was quite impressed. So.
Well, I have to say, I looked at the early access stuff just to see what it was all about. There's no Metacritic reviews or user reviews. It's from 11-Bit Studios, which do just a whole random indie games that don't seem to be connected. It's not as if they do RPGs only or do these.
This Steam has Frostpunk release as 20th September 2024, so it's not out yet.
Okay, well, my list was saying that it was coming out. All right, well, it's coming out. I've looked at it.
Maybe it's been delayed.
September. Maybe it has been delayed, and I've got the wrong
consoles first.
But it's coming out on the PlayStation, which doesn't seem to be the game that you'd want to play on a console. But this one has got. I just got quite interested in the political. Intrigue of it all, and whoever played whatever Frostpunk was about, Frostpunk 2 seem to be saying is a completely different vibe, but I don't really know how. But it seems like you build cities, or you build cities or colonies, and there's lots of wars, but it's about building political alignments.
Yeah, so it's a post-apocalypse ice, frozen over world, and you are re-establishing civilization. So you're doing the building element of it and establishing these colonies, but you also have a political element where you've got to try and keep the residents and the different factions happy, which, as we know from real politics, is pretty much impossible. And then, depending on which ones you're keeping happiest, you get different bonuses and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a whole political element to it as well. It all seems very intriguing. I am, it's probably on my list for purchasing next year.
Yeah, it does. The trouble is, it looks like one of those games which I would really, a little like Football Manager. I'd really love to play Football Manager and really get into the idea, and then I just get completely tied up with there isn't a right decision to make, and therefore you're always under complete stress and thinking that you've cocked the game up. So,
but then when you are somewhat successful, you get that endorphin release that gives you the Stockholm syndrome. So
yeah, but so have you seen this thing? I won't show my camera.
That does not work.
Won't show up.
Also, that's not great podcast.
No, but
not great radio,
I was then going to discuss it, but I'll wait till the next segment.
Okay.
Yeah, so then we got Darkest Dungeon 2, which looks like a turn-based roguelike game. I don't know, I didn't play Darkest Dungeon, but you've played this. It's got very high Metacritic scores, but it looked shit.
Darkest Dungeon is absolutely fantastic and abusive, and will punish you every step of the way. So the original one, the idea was that you had inherited an estate, and on this estate was this dungeon area, and you were hiring mercenaries to send into this dungeon to explore, to recover trinkets and money and stuff like that. And the whole thing about it was that there's a mechanic for essentially stress and fear as well as health. So when you're engaging in these battles, these eldritch horrors that you're facing are inflicting stress upon your mercenaries, and they break both physically and mentally as the game goes on. But like you said, it's a roguelike, and you are sort of repeating stuff, gaining knowledge, gaining levels, training up your mercenaries that survive, and hiring new ones when they die. But it's absolutely great. I believe the storyline to the second one is that you are trying to escape this location that you were in, and fighting things as you run away. So slightly different, but
you basically jump in a coach, and that coach is trying to escape, and you have to upgrade the coach to get to certain areas, and then obviously encounters and buy stuff. So it looks like one of those games on the surface, just like this. I don't know what this is about, but probably when you actually get into the mechanics of it, a bit like Balatro, which sounds like bullshit. But actually, when you play it, it sounds brilliant. So I thought that was interesting and would probably. Oh, I like looking at the fact that looking at these games I've never come across and would probably never look at, and probably line up for next year, thinking there's a lot of games here that I should start playing and vary my gaming experience, because I miss out on a lot of shit. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, just sounds like bullshit, really. Yep. It is an RPG. It looks a little bit like Horizon Zero Dawn, that kind of gameplay, with flintlock pistols and magic and everything like that. It seems, I don't see what's that new about it. It's kind of one of those games you choose if you like the look of the world. It's got some interesting graphics in the way that it's presented, but don't know anything about Flintlock. But that's got a reasonable Metacritic, 71, so that was, I guess, a bit notable. Dungeons of Hinterberg, described here as an action exploration RPG coming out this month, combines magic, puzzles and social elements in a picturesque alpine village. This has got a really cartoony thing, but what really turned me away from this was that the main protagonist is a graduate woman who is out of university and turns up in a town where mysterious dungeons are appearing, and she's quested to find these out, but in the process of it discovers herself and her purpose in life. So is it just
women graduating university that you have a problem with, or
no? It just sounded really woke, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this game is aimed at me, and a bit like Shim as well. But I think that Toby would really like Shim. You probably want to have a look at this. It is a really interesting art style. It's just lines. In fact, I could imagine in the day that you could probably do this on like the Spectrum. But it is a Shim, which is a spirit that only exists within shadows. It's sort of, imagine Spectrum type graphics, those kind of yes, but in a much sort of modern art style. And I would say it's akin to Thomas Was Alone in its style.
Oh yeah, I love a bit of that.
Exactly. So again, it's got this underlying mental health. You're trying to find the person that you were attached to as a Shim, who is in a dark place, and it goes really deep into how you're trying to return to them, like Thomas Was Alone. But actually, it's just a platformer where you can only jump from shadow to shadow within the world. So yeah, that was about it, really. Look. But I just got a vibe that you would like it. And then the last thing on the list is coming out on August 1st is a remake of Star Wars Bounty Hunter coming out on PS5. Did anyone play it in the day? And I feel like this might be cashing in on the fact that we've got Star Wars released at the end of Star Wars Rogue. I've completely forgotten what it is. What's releasing? What's the big one that we're waiting for?
Outlaws.
Christ, yeah.
So also, we've got the new series currently at the moment, it's just finished, of Star Wars Acolyte, which was, as I prophesied in our last episode, awesome. I'm not bothered about the naysayers. Look, Kev's pulled a face there. I don't care. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I do think that people were worried that it was negating things from the Star Wars canon, whereas I think it actually just facilitates them, which is lovely. It's nice to go back to before most of the characters that we're used to were alive, and see how things were. So yeah, I think everyone in Star Wars is cashing in at the moment.
I do want to just comment on that, because obviously you said about me putting a face. I have only watched the first 3 episodes.
Oh, you are just before the best bit.
And I enjoying the storyline and what they're doing, and I love kind of like the Jedi more as monks and stuff. than guys with laser swords.
Yeah.
But something about it, and I cannot put my finger on it in order to describe it, just feels flat, and I haven't been able to work out what that is, and it stopped me from going back to it. I am going to force myself to watch the rest of it because I did like what they were doing storyline and all the rest of it. It just, something about it felt flat. Yeah. So I just wanted to clear that I was not one of the people that is out there going, "This is awful. Everything about it is awful. How dare they?"
Oh yeah, no, I didn't think you were. More.
Just more for the audience than for you.
Yeah. No, I'm more playing up to the audience than really thinking that. But certainly, I think there's been so many naysayers about it that as someone who really enjoyed it for what it was, and the whole trope of new Star Wars being terrible and old Star Wars being amazing, people not just realizing that they were actually younger and things were more positive.
Which is exactly how every generation is. Especially with all the bullshit that get, all the stuff you get in on Facebook. Like, if you remember this, you had an awesome childhood. It's like, no, you were just a child. Like, the 80s were pretty shit, but you liked them because you were a kid, right? You were 16, 17, and you were out drinking and discovering. Having
at 16 and 17, surely not.
Exactly. having interesting sexual encounters and living in a world of excitement and all of that stuff. But every generation is so.
I know, but like with Star Wars, it seems so much more venomous. With Star Wars, there's so much actual bile and hate.
Yeah.
Around new Star Wars, anything new, like the Obi-Wan series was actually really good.
I loved it.
People shit on that from a great height. It was amazing. The finale of that was absolutely phenomenal. Peak Star Wars.
Yeah, like, because people can't see past that. Because they can't see past
their childhood.
Their childhood, and then they think everything else is bullshit. That's what I mean. It's exactly the same with all those posts. Like, kids these days, they're all shit, and we were awesome. Like, they wear like hats and stuff on their bikes. But we didn't.
Yeah. But not to put too fine a point on it, but it almost goes all the way to and for the people listening, I was telling the guys just before the episode that I've had to start back on antidepressants. But I had a family member who I was discussing this with who said, "No, you just need more sleep." We didn't have that when I was younger. Just need more sleep. And it's the same mindset. It does seem like with Star Wars, it's just so much more venomous.
Yeah. We didn't need that in the 70s. We were just alcoholics and beat our wives, and were mainly racist.
Paedophiles just weren't found out in the 70s. We were fine.
Exactly, they were confined to scout huts,
churches,
Exactly.
Oh, shit! You were worried I was going to get us cancelled about Trump.
Yeah,
and you just thrown the church under the bus. They are listening.
Yep. Great, guys. Let's. Is that it for releases?
That is. Before I go on to my militant atheism, then yeah, right.
Okay, good.
That is it.
Good.
Next
Thank
section.
you very much. So, bringing this back onto topic and away from the dangerous topics, I'm going to pass over to Toby, who has probably a rather sparse smattering, because it was short notice, of questions.
Time for It's Your Letters. Here we go. It's your letters. It's your letters. It's your letters. It's your letters.
Oh, I do and I don't. First of all, though, before we get into the question, I have to ask what the fuck this Bitmoji is, Kev. What the fuck is that?
I was just trying to draw attention to it.
And that is one of the most terrible things I've ever seen on social media. Bitches 1 and 2, I urge you to go and look at the Year of Shame Challenge Facebook group and at Kev's post.
I think I've seen this.
For asking for
What's wrong
questions.
with it? What is wrong with it?
What's right with it?
There's quite a lot that I was worried about.
I didn't say. I saw it. Can I first ask what's a Bitmoji? What the hell?
It's that little man that's supposed to be Kev. That's a Bitmoji, that is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I thought that. I thought it was all right. What's wrong with it?
Thought that was all right, did you?
Well, I didn't. I
Did you really?
Offended by it. Like
I am not hearing any like constructive criticism here.
Okay, my constructive criticism is I would love to see you on a basketball court landing a fadeaway jumper. That's my first criticism. My second is what the fuck is that background texture of a basketball? My third is this is a group of nerds. Last month in the episode, which you will all have forgotten about, but I edited recently, so I remember, we talked about you and your friends hitting peak nerd. Now you've just hit peak weird social media. Those of you that to harken back to the last episode, because you'll have only just heard it, because this one's going to follow close behind, because I'm going to do better.
So you say.
But there was a part in that episode where we spoke about Kev and his friends playing games whilst watching their friends play other games.
Yes.
And how that is peak nerd.
Yes.
This is peak old lady social media. My mother-in-law does this shit.
So, I was posting it in a bit of a hurry, and I wanted to make it draw attention because I was like, we need to actually get some questions in. So I was like, I'll put a picture or something on it. And then I was just like, fuck it, one of these backgrounds will be easier. And I tapped through, and the first two were like birthday celebration ones, and the third one was not, and I hit post. And then I went, that's a basketball one, that's a bit weird. Ah, well, it's done.
Yeah, but
I want to throw out that, like, Rich does a lot of work in marketing, etc. That's your bread and butter, right?
Yeah, it doesnesn't. Yeah, I mean, it is.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, to simplify what you do to its core.
Yeah, no, it is. But I don't know what I know about this.
Well, I'm coming round to it. The first thing that you want to do, right, in that industry is know your audience.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you'd put beer or tits in this,
it would have alienated. Well,
it would have grabbed the attention of the people that listen to this podcast.
Sure.
Basketball fadeaway Bitmoji with basketball background. Not so much.
Would one of the other Bitmojis been acceptable? Or
is that a recreation of you? How does it recreate? I don't know. How does it?
You pick various body parts when you set up your Bitmoji.
Right. Okay.
I'd like to claim that I made it ages ago, but I've only had a shaved head for the last year and a half. So
I just want to point out that the only people that use Bitmojis are really old people.
I'm the youngest of the lot, so
you're the youngest of us here, and you're the one flexing a purple spectacled basketball Bitmoji. Just take that on. We'll move on to the questions now, but I just wanted to.
I think it was very creative, and I thought.
Could I possibly?
Go on then, Rich. Give him a job. Give him a job, Rich.
Could I do the editing on this episode?
No.
Okay, so questions wise, before I get into the basketball Bitmoji Bastard Fest,
it's a bit late, isn't
it? Two days ago, some weird shit jumped into the old questions from last month.
Oh.
I wanted to fire through that. So, 2 days ago, Benjamin Bowles asked, what do you consider to be the best controller ever? Randomly. Before we'd even said that we were recording and you'd asked for questions, just threw this in there.
I had not told him either, so I have no idea where that came from.
That's quite brilliant, right? Well, it actually came from Dave Southall, just posting in there. 48 days later, it's time to bust out the bottles. UK, hun. Yes, Dave, right. We're fine. It's a mix of life being hellish and Richard cycling through France. But we're here now. And we are K hun. And then Ben seems to have just replied to that a couple of times. With his first one of what do you consider to be the best console controller ever? Which I believe we've answered in a previous episode.
I feel like we did, yeah.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
And then his second one was, would you rather be pursued by a Resident Evil nemesis the size of a badger or a badger the size of Nemesis? Which, again, feels like in our last episode,
the duck.
The duck and horses, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to ask. I feel like we need to ask Ben, a UK hun, because it feels like you're broken.
But he's been smashing through completing games. He's had
a bit of a weird month, I think.
As a result of his completions and job changes and all of that stuff, he seems to have just gone through the eye of the looking glass. I'm not sure where he is anymore.
Fair enough.
We can answer the Badgers one. No?
No, let's open up a Just Giving page for him, right?
Okay, fine. Pray for Ben. Good. And we'll come on to this month's questions. So, first was aforementioned Dave Southall of UK Hun fame from just a few moments ago, who asks us, if you were to get or already have a gaming-related tattoo, what would it be? I'm going to throw this at Rich number 2 first.
Well, I haven't got one.
What would you get?
What would I get? Well, I would probably use a default, and I argue that I could get a Cthulhu tattoo off the back of all the games that are based on that.
Okay.
I don't think I'd go for a specific character or anything like that. Can't think of one that I would particularly associate with.
Lovely. Kev?
No more to say, Your Honour.
What to say, Your Honour?
I am completely untattooed and would likely never get a tattoo. That said, there is a pretty cool Mass Effect Mass Relay / Reaper design that's like an amalgamation of the two that I have seen that is pretty awesome and would be a strong contender for a gaming tattoo for me.
Nice. Okay, Rich number 1.
Well, seeing as my first love of computing was Spectrum, there I had considered in the past getting a Spectrum logo and the word Spectrum, but seeing as I have a T-shirt with that on, and in Birmingham got asked whether or not I was supporting gay people who are on the spectrum as that, I don't think that is very wise. So I've turned away from that idea.
I feel like we have to explain to Kev that when we go to Eurogamer, we stay in the gay quarter in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stuff like this happens when we've been and we've stayed and we've had big parties. There is a graffiti in the underpass between the gay quarter and the hotel that most of us stay at that even says "Queer thugs run these streets."
Mm-hmm.
So going anywhere with a rainbow flag on was obviously asking for trouble for Rich. And there's a Weatherspoons there, the dragon, aforementioned, of where I will not poo. So, okay, Rich, you told us what you wouldn't get. What would you get?
I probably would like to get like a collage of gaming characters from the 70s, or maybe like a montage of logos like that. Okay. From Spectrum is probably the most difficult one to get to explain, but like Atari, Amiga, just all the things I played. Just if they could pull something together, that would be that, or from the arcade, something gave me mainly from the 80s, that kind of vibe, right? So
nice. Okay. In sort of blocky 8-bit style as well.
Kind of thing, gauntlet style.
Yeah. Or maybe just a Golden Axe Barbarian, right?
Golden Axe exactly, yeah. Or just the Atari logo across my back, the whole
Nice. Okay, good.
It will never get authorized, but.
What do you mean authorized?
I assume he means by banishment.
by FPO. The fun
by your
prevention
wife.
officer. The fun prevention officer. Yeah.
The fun prevention officer, your wife. Good.
Yeah.
Well, my wife loves my tattoos, so I don't have that problem. Which is nice. He's got caught. Look, he's got caught.
Busted. The FPO's in.
Busted. Love you. I'm sorry.
Love you. Sorry.
Okay, good. Well,
my
I actually commissioned a Mass Effect leg piece. Go with my already quite extensive tattoo collection. However, I didn't like what the artist did, so I didn't go ahead with it. But it's still something that I intend to do in the future. I also want the N7 logo on the inside of my bicep. I'm showing the guys on camera for the listeners. I'll take a photo later. Also,
of your
my
bicep,
dick, obviously. No, just
Oh,
my
okay.
dick. It's fun.
Makes more
What's that got to do
sense.
with podcasts? Unsolicited dick pics for the win. I also my main large leg piece on my right leg is from the comic The Darkness. However, I discovered that comic through playing the games on PlayStation and PlayStation 2. That got me right into them. Sorry, PS2 and PS3 even, rather than PlayStation 2. I really enjoyed the games. Picked up the comics. Absolutely fucking adored the comics. Tattooist of my leg piece is a lady called Kate Selke, whose wait list is 2 years long. Luckily, she went to school with my wife. So that was a stroke of luck. And it's arguably the tattoo that people speak to me the most about because it looks amazing. Outside of my Marvel Comics sleeve with Randy Marsh in his pants on a cop car, which doesn't make any sense, but has got me a lot of beer. So yeah, I have game tattoos. I want more game tattoos. That's my answer for you, Dave.
Excellent.
Then who asked us the next question? You might ask yourself, or we might ask ourselves.
It looks like Dave had another one for us.
Yeah, slow down. So after Dave's, we're going to go through them in order. Was Stuart Ramage, who said, if you could inherit one gaming power, e.g. double jump, rewind time, extra life, mega mayhem, etc., what would your choice be? And why would it be the cool haircut you had as a teenager from a fellow baldy? So, Rich number one, which power would you like to have from a game?
Oh my god! But this is just going to be me just thinking about a power, rather than actually thinking about one that I would like. If anyone else has got any thoughts, please jump in and help me.
I mean, I've got a thought-out answer already. So I'll jump in and rescue you. You know, in Skyrim, you can walk up to a bed and press on it and say, "I want to rest for 8 hours." Then it says you wake up feeling well rested. That one would be great. Thanks.
That is absolutely
amazing.
perfect.
That is a phenomenal answer. After that, while Rich number one still looks confused, we're going to go to Rich number two.
Me, I reckon I'm gonna go with Deadeye from the Red Dead games. Given my
Nice.
current archery propensity, it would make things a touch easier. Slow stuff down, steady the hand.
Feel like it would give you enough in your day-to-day life outside of archery, though. I feel like outside of archery, it's a pretty redundant skill.
Depends on how many times you're wandering around murdering people, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the slow time thing. Expand it to that. Take it from Max Payne, then. It's just to slow the time down. Give me a Matrix-style time slowdown. I'll take that.
Okay, I'm with you. Hang on 1 second, because I'm trying to find the name of the game that I wanted to talk about. There you go. Okay, good. So, Richard, why don't you got an answer yet, or are you still puzzling? Because I'll go if you haven't.
Well, I think if I always default to The Witcher, don't I? So probably one of Geralt's Ignis sign, something like that.
Ignis sign. Again, I
The
feel like
ability
it's
to set people on fire.
the same as
Yeah.
riches. I feel like it's very, in real life, very much a, can't really use this in this situation. Like, you only get one mother-in-law. Once you've burned her, that's it.
What's the requirement for the multi-use power?
No, it wasn't. But wouldn't you want to pick one you could use again and again?
Not necessarily.
Feels a bit redundant. For me, I'd like to. I was thinking about. It was that game, and it had all the weird TV episodes in it, and I couldn't remember. But that guy's power was pretty cool. Quantum Break. The ability
You mean Quantum
to.
Leap?
No, I mean
No.
Quantum Break. Quantum Leap is a television program. Quantum Break is a video game. We're talking about
And
video
also a
games. It's a
television
video
program.
gaming podcast.
You said television program.
I said it had TV episodes in it.
There was also a TV show of Quantum Break.
Yeah, that was inside the game.
Yeah, but they did it outside.
I know
the
they
game
put
as
it
well.
outside the game
Yeah.
too, but it was inside the game. That's how it got. It was first.
Why I was
created.
trying to clarify it. Anyway,
Okay.
get
Not
on
the
with
word
it.
podcast of
But
pedants at all.
that guy was able to rewind, fast forward, and warp time, which I think would come in very handy at work. Because the amount of times you need to tell people to go fuck themselves before you can just get on board with things would be astronomical and would make you
Is
feel
that what
better
you'd
about
use?
yourself.
You'd be like, go fuck yourself, rewind, do it again.
Yeah, until I felt better. But
Yeah.
also being able to test scenarios. So you respond to a scenario, see how it plays out. Nope, don't like that. Like, you say a different thing to your wife, like, I'd like to bring in 3 of your friends. How do we feel about that? Nope, okay, rewind.
2 of
You
your
know.
friends?
2 and 1? Which friend? Oh, no, not that one. Rewind. But yeah, I think that power has massive whole life implications and would be an amazing power to have. So that's where I'm heading with that. So thank you, Stu, for the question. And also, in terms of the teenage haircut, yeah, I had the whole Liam Gallagher hair thing going on. So that was a lot of fun because I was obsessed with Oasis, as most of us were at a point in time.
No.
Why did you just touch your camera, Kev?
I wasn't focusing on me, or my eyes were not focusing on the image, and I was trying to work
Okay,
out which one it was.
Both of those things very strange. Good. So Brian Riley, mucky Brian with his sexy game questions, says we're in July now. Oh, this is the June episode because we're behind, but shush. So 7 months in, have you learned anything about yourselves or your buying habits? Of course, the real reason I put in the month is so I can figure out the lag between questions and podcasts. Wink. It seems to have been a good year to do Year of Shame challenge. Nothing so far has screamed at me anyway as a must buy. So what games or IP would be a day one buy for y'all? So there's 2 questions there. The first, have you learned anything about yourselves or your buying habits? I feel like we've answered that already.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're further in now than when we last answered it. But I think the same thing for me. This is the second time I've done Year of Shame, and the one thing that always jumps out at me is just how easy it is to jump on the hype train, and how when you don't, you get to see things that actually shit sometimes, and you've dodged a bullet. That's the thing that I learned first time, and it's just compounded this time. Kev, as a first timer compared to the rest of us who have done this once before, what's the thing that you find?
So for me, it is definitely the little 5 to 10 quid games. I pick them up so easily when I'm not doing this. I just like, oh, there's a game. It's on my wish list. Steam's just notified me that it's on sale. It's less than a tenner. Sure, I'll just buy it. I'll probably get round to it, and then I don't. And yeah, not doing that. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced I'm not going to go straight back to it in the next year. Like, I'd like to think that maybe I'll show a little bit more restraint, but it's so easy to just pick up stuff. Because, like, for 7-8 quid, like, how many hours do you need to play that for it to have been worthwhile?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I struggle with that.
I do believe genuinely, in order to change those habits, you need to do this more than once.
Yeah.
I think that's why both Riches and I are back. In that you start to get the realization the first time, but it's very easy to just go, yeah, I realise that, but look cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas I think sort of coming at this the second time, it's certainly compounding it a lot more. But like Brian said in his question, there's not really been a lot coming out this year to turn the head or jump on the hype train. Rich number 2, how are you feeling about it?
I think I'm probably similar boat to yourself, Toby. I think I've managed, I've certainly reinforced the idea that I don't need to buy the day one special editions. I've got rid of the old FOMOs from that, because I did have an habit of doing that with some of the big games, certainly. And it was just so disappointing, some of those, and I think they gradually got worse, all these special editions and the things that you used to get. And you find them now, you'll get something that's, you get this exclusive pack. Yeah, and then you can actually earn that in the game. So what have I paid me extra £5 for? No, not going to do anything like that. Just going to wait, see what something's like, and then just take it from there.
Which number 1?
Probably that. How many, especially just probably remind for this month, how many decent indie games there are out there that I don't play, and really that fuck AAAs really. Like they're big and cumbersome, they are enjoyable, but you just miss out on so much amazing indie stuff that sits on there. And I've enjoyed the smaller games more than I have the bigger games. So
very much so.
That's
I
probably
think
the best thing I learned.
Yeah, like I said last month, the 2 games that I've enjoyed the most that I've finished this year have been Inside and Limbo. Like both were absolutely phenomenal experiences. Artful Escape, again, quite an independent piece, and I think that whereas the big studios have huge budgets to develop new mechanics and things like that, sometimes a simple bit of really good storytelling from somebody with a bit of imagination can completely change the landscape. I think we all need to start giving that a bit more of a chance. That's certainly something that I think I've learned. Brian's second facet to his question was, so what games or IPs would be day one buy for y'all? Which number 2? If an IP released something tomorrow, which one would you have to slam a joker on it?
Borderlands 4.
Okay.
I'd go straight in on that. The original Borderlands was a game I never really looked at, and then a friend said to me, "You want to take a look at this? It's a first-person shooter, and it's just off its tits, funny-wise." I went in on those. Loved those ever since, possibly with the exception of the pre-sequel, which was a bit flat. Still a good game, but it just wasn't up to the standards of the others. So yeah, I'd definitely jump on Borderlands 4.
Lovely. And Rich number 1, what IP would make you shoot straight away?
I think if they're XCOM 3, if that just popped out of the woodwork tomorrow, then it would be a Joker day 1.
I did not expect that answer, but I will take it.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah. Kev?
So historically, pretty much anything that BioWare put out, with the exception of Anthem, which I never had any interest in.
Bought that for 50p.
That said, it has now been confirmed that Dragon Age Veilguard, as it is now known, is coming out this year. It's going to be an interesting one, whether or not I do drop my Joker on it, or whether, it's supposedly going to be October, November time. So there's a big element of me that's like, just fucking put up with it until January, when it'll be patched and more stable and all the rest of it.
Maybe even discounted in sales.
Yeah, quite possibly. So I'm a little bit more cautious with BioWare these days, although other than Anthem, I still don't think they've put out a bad game. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I think almost along the same lines. If a Mass Effect or an Elder Scrolls came out tomorrow, I would literally be on that like a fat kid on a chocolate cake. Or I think if Fable, the new Fable came out, that'd be another one that I'd be all over. And there was something else. I can't remember, so I'm going to just leave it. But that's 3 quite big IPs anyway. That if they came out tomorrow, I would. Oh, the KOTOR remake.
Yes.
If Knights of the Old Republic remake.
I think I'd have to wait and see some reviews before I picked it up. But yeah,
and a lot of hefty patches, I think.
Yes.
But I'd be tempted to go day one. I did day one on Cyberpunk, and I was not disappointed, even with the broken game compared to what it is now. Like, I played it on my Xbox, and then as soon as I got my Series S, ported over to that, and that made the world of difference. So yeah, I think Cyberpunk as well. Fuck it, why not throw another one in there? If any of those came out tomorrow, I would gladly pay my Joker for any of those. Outside of that, everything else can wait. So our next question was from Little Dave Packer, he of Can't Handle Turbo Shandy fame. He says, has Rich given up on Returnal or finished it? Well, we've covered that, Dave.
Finished it. Nailed it.
Finished
More
it.
so than I bet he has.
Bummed it.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. Big shots fired. Dave, how far have you got? Can you tell us? We want to know. Dave Southall came back in with what is your favourite gaming peripheral / accessory, which again, I think we've answered.
We kind of, yeah.
I mean, I went on a whole rant about the Super Scope.
Yeah.
No, we did peripherals because I went on the rant about the Super Scope and how they went from the duck hunt gun to a bazooka. Doesn't make any sense. Remember? I did the whole rant about that.
Yeah. Must have passed.
So let him go off on that one again.
Dave, we've answered it, Dave.
In his defence, he probably hasn't heard that answer yet.
No, because that wasn't on last month's.
Oh, okay.
No, he's heard it, and he wants to call us out on 48 days, but he can't even remember what he's listened to. Jeez.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't ask this. If he's asking the question, what peripheral would you love to have?
No, he's asking what is your favourite.
Yeah, but it seems to be the answer. Just to give him some kudos or credit for asking a question.
But always
I think
being in the mix.
The peripheral that I would absolutely love in my life, always want to have and never have the space or the gumption to create space for it, would be a proper steering wheel racing setup.
I mean,
I would love to have that properly in my house, but never got.
If I could go for any peripheral, like if I could make a dream peripheral, I would go Ready Player One haptic suits.
Yeah,
like that,
you want to feel the pain.
I want to feel it. Stab me, bitch.
I think he might be using them for other reasons, but
what are you talking about? How dare you?
BDSM simulator.
I'm talking about so I can play FIFA.
A little visit to the dark side of Tokyo will probably tech side of Tokyo will reveal some very interesting peripherals that you might want to get involved with.
Yeah, I don't think I have the money for those, Rich. But I don't know what you're talking about. I would never have looked there already. Shush. Rich number 2?
I can't think of anything. Honestly, can't.
Good. What about a bow and arrow?
You've got that if you use a Nintendo Wii. The Wii controls worked with those.
It's not the same as an actual haptic feedback bow and arrow with recoil and all that sort of shit.
Would be good. I must admit that the best controller, even though we didn't answer it last time, has to be for me now. If you're thinking about it, is the Quest 2 controllers, and anything in the VR. I mean, they're so impressive. You're just playing things like table tennis, and using bows and arrows in VR is actually pretty good.
But again, there's no resistance there, and that's why I ask about this controller, because, for instance, like Rich said, you pull the bowstring on a Wii controller and it will pull back, but you don't get to feel the tug of a string.
The tug of a banjo string.
Oh, right, I see what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm talking about full-on feedback, so it feels like the real experience.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Or you could just go to a field with an actual bow.
Yes, but we're nerds, Richard. We like to stay indoors. I know you've just cycled the whole of France, but we want to stay indoors where it's safe and the people can't get us.
Toby could go outside and play football, but he wants a haptic suit to do FIFA.
If only if they had like an indoor simulators for bikes. they exist.
Yeah, it's called a velodrome.
They do. Yeah, it's called a spin class, and then you get to look at a lot more butts.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay.
Good. So, thank you, Dave, for always giving us content when we are clutching at straws. Blair Ferguson has jumped in with what I think is another Red Dwarf quote. I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed. No, that's Hitchhiker's Guide, isn't it?
I was going to say it's Hitchhikers, yeah.
Hitchhikers, isn't
it? We demand rigidly defined areas of doubt and uncertainty. Anyone? Oh, good. Okay. If you could all remove all traces of any game series so you could play it again for the first time, what would you choose? Also, what game or system was it that got you hooked? Made you, yes, this is the thing I'm going to waste all my cash on. Oh, and I'm not really depressed, just a quote, though I'm sure you knew that. Good. So, that was a two-parter, a two-hander, if you will. The first hand was, if you could remove all traces of a game and experience it for the first time, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy.
Which number one?
I think World of Warcraft, and go back and start that again. That experience for me was the best game experience that I've ever had. I got obviously way too into it and then bored of it and can't ever go back to it. So I've tried to go when they redid it, went straight, stripped everything back and went back to the beginning again. I tried to go back in, but it wasn't the same. I would have liked to be able to start that again.
That's such a good shout. Being able to do the raids and stuff straight
all
off.
of that.
Being able to Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins, all of that.
Straight out again. Oh, I'd totally forgotten about that. That would be fun.
At least I'm not a chicken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rich, number two.
First Red Dead. That's got a fantastic ending to it, and that's the whole the way they portray the American West and the period it's coming up to, in that they're just starting to get more and more mechanized. And you've got the introduction of the what will then become the FBI and stuff into it, the Pinkertons.
Yeah. So I never finished the first Red Dead. When you said that, I was thinking of Red Dead Revolver, which was the original Red Dead.
Yeah, that was the original one. Yeah. Red Dead Revolver, I'm talking Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah, no, Red Dead Revolver was a great game as well.
And I'd get to play through the zombie nightmare again.
Yeah. Okay. Kev.
KOTOR, I think doing that again, having that
sexy shout, having the Revan reveal.
Yeah.
That's big. I think for me though, I mean, I don't even need to answer. You can all answer for me, I'm sure.
Mass Effect.
There you go. Yeah, if I could clear Mass Effect from my brain and get blown away by all of that again, I would in a heartbeat. Shout out though to the Fable series as well.
Yeah.
Which is another big love of mine. I think, that was a real moment in gaming. And it certainly got me hooked in a completely different direction, which sort of leads us on nicely to the next question, which was, what game or system was it that got you hooked and made you, yes, this is the thing I'm going to waste all my cash on? For me, my first console was a NES. And first thing I owned was obviously the Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt cartridge. And both of those things were like crack. Couldn't get enough of both of them. And they led me to sitting on this podcast with a load of other bald men talking bollocks. So, can't be all bad. Kev?
I think it's going to be a fairly obvious answer, but it was a PC. Had one from the age of sort of 4 or 5, and got my parents very concerned at various points in my life about the level of time I spent on it. But yeah, no, completely fell in love with it. And I had a period when I felt I couldn't afford to keep up with it, and I did go I was Xbox quite heavily, but Mr. Benjamin Bowles, in fact, was the one that got me back into PC stuff, and is credited with our friendship group's vast expenditure on our PCs. So, yeah, but no, wouldn't go away from it now.
Nice. Rich, number 2?
I started off playing Spectrum games, but I wouldn't have said that was what got me hooked because I didn't really have the resources to think I could play and do that. I think probably I would go more into the realms of like Commodore Amiga, which I had growing up. That would have been the one, playing all manner of things on that. I don't think there was any. I can't think of the titles, but I just remember that it was always those. Probably Doom, I think, the original 8 what would have been 8-bit Doom, 16-bit crossover. And I think the first time that was pre-online games, and I do remember that I got a mate to bring his computer around to our house, and we just back-to-back 2 monitor and did it through a linked cable. And played Doom Deathmatch 1-on-1 in the same room, just that we couldn't see each other's monitors. We could just swear at each other across the room.
I think that in that time period as well, you had all the magazines with the free games on the front.
Yeah.
That was a proper golden age for just having. That was the precursor to a pile of shame, really, wasn't it? It was just having a stack of discs that had games that you've never played and you never had any intention of playing.
I mean, if you really want to see how old I was when I was getting that, they had cassettes on the Spectrum versions.
Yeah.
So you'd get all those back in the day with Crash Magazine or whatever it was, or Zap 64, and they'd have cassettes on the front of those. Demo cassettes, and you weren't downloading anything because there was no interwebs to do it from. So you were taking those. If I had to pick a Spectrum game, I would probably say Target Renegade.
Nice. All right, Rich, number 1.
Yeah.
I think there was 3 periods where I dived in. Originally, back with, as Rich 2 was saying, back with Spectrum, it was Jetpack. That just when I got bought a Spectrum and I played, I was just like, that's me hooked. I probably then fell off of gaming for a little while. And the game that got me back in, just like this is something I want to do forever, was probably Wolfenstein 3D. It wasn't mine; it was a mate's PC, and I went round. And I was just like, "What is this? Look at this world! Look at this 3D immersive world." I guess it. I wonder
if I'm confusing Doom with Wolfenstein then.
Well, look, I can kill Nazis in a brick.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether it is because it was. It was one of those.
Just remember getting the minigun in Wolfenstein.
Yeah. So and that was sort of like, I guess, my second age of gaming, where I was like, yeah, no, I'm totally banging into this. This is brilliant.
Yeah. Beautiful nostalgia. Okay, well that's the end of our questions. So I will hand back to our capable host to see us home.
Well, excellent. Finally gotten another one under the belt. Are we planning on doing one early August? I feel like not a lot is going to change in the next couple of weeks.
We usually discuss that after we've stopped recording. I
thought it might be nice for the audience to know when to expect the next one.
You can't let them see behind the curtain.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh,
Well, on that note, then I will just wrap it up.
Kind of a pompadour there.
Thank you all for listening. As always, you can find us on the social media. The social media, in fact, the Facebook, the Twitter. And so it is a good night from Toby. Good night from Rich One.
Good night, and I've got to go and repair my relationship with my wife.
Good luck with that. A good night from Rich 2.
Good night.
And a good night from me. Thank you all for listening.
Bye.